Okay guys, this is Dark Skeleton, and this morning I went ahead and checked out Hearthstone.com again, expecting the new Anubarak Rogue Legendary and the Druid Legendary, like we don't know what's Anubarak. And then, bam, it turns out there's this whole new card reveal from Gamescom. I don't know how they got a hold of this many cards. I've barely had time to take a look at the first couple. And in fact, I don't even know what the Skeleton Knight really does. I looked at Edric the Peer. So we're going to be doing a literal first impressions here. Like, I don't even know what these cards really are. So the Skeleton Knight, 7/4 for 6 mana. Sounds awful. I'm sure its effect is crazy. Reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, return this to your hand as a death rattle. Huh. So if you're playing like a really expensive deck, you can keep replaying this guy if they let his death rattle trigger. I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. There'd have to be some crazy synergy for that to be a viable card. It's interesting, but I don't think it's good at all. I mean, 4 health on a 6 mana minion. Just think about that for a second. In a mill deck, maybe? Because it's kind of like, no, not even. That Druid Legendary, what's he called? Not Cenarius, but the other one. This one that's a stake. The deer. The deer that returns to your deck, that's not even played, and that's a 9/7 for 7 mana, which is actually decent stats, but still not a viable card. Now, Edric the Peer. I think this is a really interesting card, and I do think they are pushing anti-aggro cards a bit in this set, and Edric the Peer could kind of be looked at as one of them. A 7 mana, 3/7, crappy stats, but Battle Cry, basically you get humility on everything your opponent has. I don't know if that's necessarily anti-aggro, though, because it does cost 7 mana, and a Face Hunter will probably have you dead around then anyway, but it would be really good against any deck that's aggressive and hasn't killed you by that point, and also Handlock. Can you imagine, just they have like 3 giants, and now they're all 1-attack minions. That would actually be pretty good. Will this card be viable or playable? I think in Control Paladins, we'll see this used a bit. It definitely won't go into the aggro Shakaden stuff, but it is a pretty good board control card. It's almost like destroying your opponent's entire field if you're just trying to reduce damage. And yeah, I know Humility isn't kill a minion, but it does kind of incapacitate them. Okay, next up, Argent Lance, and if we look at the border here, I believe that is a Paladin weapon, obviously. So 2 mana, 2/2. Okay, Fiery War Axe of Paladin, sweet. Reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, get +1 durability. Okay, that is pretty good against Face Hunters. So as a Paladin, especially one that's a Control Paladin, you're probably going to have higher cost minions. So I'd say against a deck like a Hunter, 70% of the time this is going to trigger for you, and you're going to get a 2/3 for 2 mana, which, in terms of fighting aggro, is probably better than a 3/2. Though this isn't really a 2/3 because it can misfire sometimes. But that seems like a card that could compete, against Fiery War Axe. I think Paladins will be using that. Yeah. Is it as good? I'm hesitant to say it's as good as Fiery War Axe, because there is something to be said about dealing 3 damage to a minion. But still, killing off 3 Leper Gnomes is okay. I mean, you still take the Death Rattle effect. But, I mean, the point is it gets it off the field. So that's a good card right there, yeah. Armored Warhorse. 5/3 Beast. Interesting. Could that be Druid or Hunter synergy there? 4 mana. Battlecry, reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, gain charge. Whoa. A 4 mana charge for 5 damage. That is interesting. If yours costs more, gain charge. So, it's like, for combo, maybe, in a really expensive deck, could Handlocks run that? A 4 mana charge, give it a couple power overwhelmings? Or 1 power overwhelming, 9 attack, clone it with Faceless Manipulator. Or 2 power overwhelmings, because let's face it, you're going to be using Tarzan. That's interesting. It could be a good late game finisher. It's not going to be a aggro card. Oh my god, if that thing just had charge by default, Face Hunter would be so good. Face Hunter is already good, let's be honest. Yeah, I see that having some late game potential. Finish your opponent off. Is it good though? Could be good in Druid, like Beast Druid, because they are pushing a lot of new beasts, including I think there may have been a Druid card that was a beast or synergized with beast or something like that. Late game combo for any deck is what I'm thinking with that card. Could be pretty good actually. 5 damage on a 4 mana charge is very solid. Hell, maybe you could even run that in Control Warrior? I don't know about that. Maybe. Any deck that wants to combo and finish your opponent off and doesn't have a better option, that's worth considering. Okay, Tuskar Jouster. A new Paladin card. Oh man, they want to go with Paladin today. Reveal a minion in each deck if yours costs more. There's a lot of these if yours costs more. Restore 7 health to your hero for 5 mana 5/5. Oh, damn. That is pretty sick. So these, if yours costs more, that's clearly telling me anti-aggro. Because aggro decks, they're going to have 1/2 mana minions. Your control deck is going to have like 9 mana Ysseras. So Tuskar Jouster is basically, if you do get its effect, which is likely if you're playing against an aggro deck or you're just playing a really late game deck like a Control Warrior, it's basically a better heal bot. 7 health, 5/5 stats, which does make a big difference, can trade into 2 minions, or even put more pressure on the board. The problem is it can misfire, so I'm not sure you'd want to put Tuskar Jouster in just... Oh, right, it's a Paladin only card, I did miss that, so it can't go in Control Warrior. But, if it misfires, it becomes a 5/5, which is actually okay still. But do you want to run Healbot over that, because Healbot is reliable, and this guy isn't always. You could definitely, and you will, lose some games because these, if yours costs more minions didn't trigger. I think Paladins will try to run that for sure. Edric the Peer, Argent Lance, Tuskar Jouster, I am really seeing Control Paladin get pushed here. And I kind of like it, because I am a big fan of pushing the button and bringing things to the late game when I play Paladin. I also like the aggro Paladin too. Paladin's just a cool class. Okay, Master Jouster. Reveal a minion in each deck if you... All of these, or if yours costs more. Gain Taunt and Divine Shield, 6 mana. Taunt and Divine Shield. So, it basically becomes a... let me see, what's that card called? A Sunwalker with 1 extra health and 1 extra attack. Okay. So that's a 5/6. It sucks, obviously. And you could kind of think of it also as, if it fires correctly, it's basically a Sunwalker with +1 attack, +1 defense. I don't like this card. I don't think it's going to be played. Having it misfire is way too risky. If you need that taunt and you play this and then you don't get the taunt, you just immediately lose. So, unless your deck is like 90% certain to actually get that effect to trigger, like you're just playing this deck that's intentionally built around if yours costs more because you're going to go to the late game, you have 20 Ysseras in your deck, then maybe you could play around with it. But even then, I just don't know. I feel like cards like Sunwalker would still be arguably better because it's always consistent. And Sunwalker isn't played at all. I think people will stick to Sludge Belcher. Okay, Gadget Sand Jouster, a new 1 mana, 1 drop. That was redundant. All 1 mana cards are also 1 drops. Okay, Gadget Sand Jouster. 1 attack, 2 health. Reveal minion in each deck. If yours costs more, gain +1/+1. Ah. So if you're playing a late game control deck, it's a zombie chow without the drawback that can sometimes misfire and only be a 1/2. Is that good enough to play? I'm not totally convinced. It could be okay. Could be meh. Zombie, is that as good as Zombie Chow? I don't think it's as good as Zombie Chow. I'd rather give my opponent 5 health than risk it not being good stats. If you can guarantee like a 80% chance of it firing, people will try it. I just don't know. I think that's just another Master Jouster. And plus, when you put more of those low-cost minions in your deck, for the if your costs more kind of playstyle, then the more low-cost minions you have, the more chance of a misfire you have. So I don't think that's amazing. It will be tried in control anti-aggro decks. I don't think it's even necessary, though. I'm sure there are just better tools out there if you want to fight aggro than a one-drop like that. Okay, Mukla's champion. Okay, cool. Mukla synergy here. Okay, not really. Inspire. Give your other minions +1/+1. That's pretty sick for an Inspire effect. 5 mana, 4/3. Is that good? I think it's like the crowd favorite, which is the one other card I've reviewed so far, or first impression. It's living the dream. Though, Inspire, you could wait till the late game. Let's say you were playing like a Weenies deck and you were trying to just buff everything up. So you have like 6 guys on the field. One of them is a garrison commander. Maybe you have a Maiden of the Lake. So you play it on turn 7, and this is still living the dream. But you could hit that button twice and give your whole field +2/+2 for 7 mana and still get a 4/3. Yeah, I think Stormwind Champion is probably better. And Stormwind Champion isn't run at all. Could it be good in Arena, though? I could see it being used in Arena, yeah. It's not terrible. I mean, in terms of stats, you're losing about 2 health and 1 attack. But if you can guarantee the Inspire fact, then it kind of balances things out. And if you do manage to hit 2 guys with that Inspire effect, then I'd say that the stats overall became pretty good there. So Inspire in Arena could be pretty good because it's so slow. Okay, next card. Ancestral Knowledge. We are basically getting Arcane Intellect for Shamans. Except I don't know if it's as good. Draw 2 cards, overload 2, costs 2 mana. Overload 2, why not overload 1? I mean, if you're going to pay 4 mana effectively to draw 2 cards, that's meh. I mean, Battle Rage just blows the crap out of that, and Arcane Intellect I think would be better than that. If you're in the really late game and you have mana to float, and you know you're not going to need it, then yeah, okay. Drawing 2 at that point for 2 mana, it's fine. It's probably about as good as Arcane Intellect at that point. If you play it with, like, Lava Shock to counteract the overload, then yeah, that becomes a pretty good synergy there. I think people will try to run it. I don't know if it's even necessary, though. I think I'd probably just stick with Mana Tide Totem, personally. Draw a card, guaranteed, 3 mana. Puts a body in the field that your opponent has to answer, has the potential to spiral out of control and draw you 2, 3, 4 cards if you're living the dream. Yeah, I think I like Mana Tide better than that. Okay, next. Bolster. Give your taunt minions +2/+2. Damn, son, that is a lot of buff for taunt minions. Now, if you'll recall, there was also the King's Defender, which is a really crappy warrior weapon that they're pushing. 3 mana. 3/2, if you have a taunt minion, gain +1 durability. Well, is a 3/3 weapon for 3 mana that bad? No, it's not, but you'd have to be playing this taunt deck. However, with Bolster, maybe you would be playing that taunt deck. Bolster with double Annoyatron. Basically, 2 mana, make your Annoyatrons 3/4s Divine Shield. That would be pretty sick. Play this on 1 taunt minion, and it's okay-ish. That's not where you're trying to get the value. Then it's basically just a Mark of the Wild that your opponent is definitely going to silence. But if you can get multiple taunt minions out on the field, then this becomes a nightmare. 4/4 of stats for 2 mana, possibly even 6/6 of stats if you're living the dream. Taunt Warrior could be a thing. That's a pretty good card if you want to try playing that. The only thing is, about Warriors never really even needed taunts because they already have 30 armor to protect themselves. So, would Control Warrior shift towards these taunt minions? I don't know. Control Warrior already beats the crap out of a Face Hunter. Would this help against, say, Mid-Range Hunter? If you're going to play a bunch of weenie minions, buff them up with +2/+2, and maybe just beat your opponent down while they're attacking your taunts. Maybe. I could see something like that. In that specific deck, this is a powerful card, and I would say this is staple if you're going to play Taunt Warrior. Well, obviously it is, given its potential power. Excuse me for a minute. Phlegmy throat. Okay, next card. Rogue. Burgle! 3-mana Rogue card. Add 2 random class cards to your hand from your opponent's class. Oh my god, they just gave Rogue Thoughtsteal, basically. Not quite as good as Thoughtsteal, because Thoughtsteal takes cards that your opponent actually selected for their deck, whereas Burgle will give you the bad cards too. However, I still think that it might actually be pretty good. For instance, you go up against a priest and you get Mind Control, you preparation into Mind Control for 7 mana. Pretty sick. At the same time, you play this against a shaman and you get a, what's the thing called? Totemic Might, plus 2 health to all your 0 totems. Well, this could be run. Is it actually as good as Thoughtsteal? Nefarian, I see some people trying to run, but not many really good decks run Nefarian. Although people certainly have experimented with him. So basically, Nefarian is kind of like a 6-mana giant that also has Burgle stacked on top of it. Is Nefarian's effect worth 3 mana? Arguably. What would be awesome is if you get this against like a handlock and then you just use the Demonic Pact, Sacrificial Pact on Jiraxxus. So Rogue can now kill Jiraxxus, or actually kill any demon. Sacrificial Pact would just be a great card to steal versus Warlocks. It's interesting. I think people will definitely play around with it. I will definitely play around with it. I like it. It's basically card draw that's not sprint. That's a real big deal, because sprint right now is basically the only viable card draw outside of like an Azure Drake that rogues have. So that opens up a new possibility. And it's 3 mana like an Arcane Intellect. I'd say it's slightly worse than Arcane Intellect, but could be really good. Also has the benefit of getting you cards that were never meant for your class, and sometimes those cards can just be super powerful. Sometimes they can be super awful, though. No. Okay. Injured Kaval here. 1 mana, 2/4, deal 3 damage to this minion as a battle cry. So what you're saying is you want Circle of Healing to be even better than it already is. Okay. So a priest waits till turn 4. Circle of Healings gets a 2/4 and a 4/7 on the board. Oh god. That card is pretty sick for priests, I think. Yeah, oh, you could even play this guy on turn 1, turn 2, heal it up. Turn 2, you actually have something to do as a priest. That is anti-aggro. Yeah, in a nutshell. That could push priests into some kind of viability spot. Although, was aggro really what priests had trouble dealing with? I'm not certain. I haven't really played priest that much recently. Any class that can heal that up, which is basically priest, is going to have a good day. More synergy with Circle of Healing. Oh, you can also get card draw for that if you combo it with North Shadow Clerk. Yeah, priests are definitely going to try to run that, and I think it's going to be a valuable card, because 2/4 for 1 mana, pretty strong. Assuming you get the heal off, which you will, because you're a priest. Okay, legendary. Gormok the Impaler, otherwise known as the first boss in the Argent Tournament WoW raid, which no one cares about anymore. If you have at least 4 other minions, deal 4 damage. 4/4 for 4. Okay, in terms of stats, that sucks. So this goes into a very specific deck, and that deck is probably about the same kind as the Mukla's Champion deck. I'm thinking, with these 2 cards, you're looking at possibly playing around with like a Flood the Board deck. Could that be, wouldn't necessarily be Hobgoblin. I'm thinking more like Druid with Power of the Wild and Violet Teacher. That could be a good thing. Then you can combo it with Mukla's Champion and Gormok the Impaler. I could kind of see it. Nah. But would it be viable? Probably not. but it could be really cute. We'll have to see. Um, Outside of like Zoo, because Zoo is super starting and always has the card draw, these kinds of cards, this kind of playstyle hasn't really worked. And yeah, I have tried it. It's not aggro druid isn't really a thing. Um, but that brings up a good point. Muklah's Champion and Gormok the Impaler, if you put it in a Zoo deck, a Zoo deck can easily get 4 other minions on the field, and then you just wait to play Gormok the Impaler, 4 damage battlecry, 4/4 health. If you wait to play him until you get the effect, that actually becomes really good. I think Zoo decks are going to try to run this, actually. They really do. Because the chance of being able to get the battlecry off is very high. And Muklah's Champion as a late game, I don't think that card will be running Zoo. It's just too high mana cost, and you're still going to be running Doom Guards. Half the time you'll just end up discarding Muklah's Champion with your Doom card, and that's no good. So yeah, Gormok the Impaler. Possible Zoo card. Okay, so Joust, new ranked rewards. Oh, okay, why not? Let's do bonus. Let's take a look at this. New mechanic, Joust. Both cards reveal a minion in the deck. If the player used a minion with a Joust effect, reveals a card that's costs more mana to play. That player wins the Joust. Okay. Chest getting. Okay, hold on. Let's read this actually. The highest rank you reach during the current will be displayed on your quest log. Getting past rank 20 each season will give you a chest at the end of the season with better rewards the farther you go, finally. The chest value is determined by the highest rank you earned that month. Chests contain the monthly card back in addition to rewards like Arcane Dust and Golden cards. So now you have a reason to grind the ladder. Sick. Okay, the question is how much stuff? New season card back, 20 dust and a spell slinger. Oh yeah, oh man. What, 100% guaranteed golden cards? A rank 5 player gets 3 golden cards, 5 arcane dust, and a pack. Getting the golden cards is pretty nice. Okay. Common golden card, 20 dust, and the season card back. Alright. Oh, there was one more card revealed yesterday. Okay, this will be it, and then we'll call the video. 22 minutes, not bad given the amount of cards. Brave Archer. If your hand is empty, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. As an Inspire effect? Oh shit, Face Hunter. God, oh man. So much for anti-aggro. Brave Archer is going to wreck Face. Okay, it's good, but I don't know if it's that good. It's not a charge minion, but it is definitely a Face Hunter card. Deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So your hero power basically becomes 4 damage. You can't let that live. It's going to be run, I think. It's not game breaking. Let's be honest. It'll die after 1 turn, so it gets 4 damage off. And probably hits the face personally for 0 damage. So it's basically a 1 mana deal. It's like a Leper Gnome. It's as good as Leper Gnome. In the late game. But where you actually get to the late game, could you possibly die before you run out of cards? Okay, given that, it's not spectacularly broken, because it does have that requirement of your hand being empty. However, I do think that will be played. Okay, so that's plenty of stuff for this video. Crazy card reveal. Of course, you have these other 3 cards that were revealed yesterday, like my crowd favorite video. So, I've been Dark Skeleton. Thanks for watching. And exciting stuff coming up in the Grand Tournament. So, till they release the set, or until I feel like making another video, see you then.